Was there ever a moment where you're like, how in the world are we going to pull this off?
There were definitely moments like that where, um, you know, one of them did have to do with, I'll just mention this moment. It was the night before everything was supposed to start. I was sitting outside of the Air and Space Museum, if you know Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking at the tents everywhere and the sound systems. And I don't know how many people are going to show up the next day. You know, I'm just kind of like, God, this is crazy. What are we doing? And I get this phone call from our, one of our leaders. And he basically says, I got all the numbers. They had a couple changes, you know, on the actual like program that had to take place just to comply with Park Service and other things. And so he goes, I have our latest numbers, financials on this. He goes, we're $1.4 million in the red. And I'm in this hotel room and I'm crying, to be honest with you. I mean, I really was like, Lord, I did this because I felt you said to do it.
Right.
You know, and for those that aren't aware, I mean, you don't just do stuff like this to do it and go, well, God's just going to pay the bill. You really got to hear the Lord when it's something at that scale. But we knew we did. What actually happened is I had met a guy in a divine appointment about 3 or 4 months earlier on the National Mall. I was in DC with my family, and my wife said, you need to stay in the city tonight. And I'm like, why? She goes, and she never does this. And she's like, you need to stay the night in the city. I don't know why, but I really feel it. So I'm like, okay. So I literally book a hotel room and I'm there and I'm walking the mall. It's July. I'm hot. I'm just like walking the National Mall praying. And I'm like, Lord, what am I doing in DC? And I get a phone call. And this guy goes, hey, I want you to tell him everything. Do it in like 5 minutes, but tell him the story. What's about to happen. And so I'm like, sure. And so I get on this call and tell him the story. And the guy goes, where are you? I said, I'm in DC on the mall. He goes, I'm in DC too. I'm like 3 blocks from you. And this guy lived in another state, but he goes, I want you to come here right now. I'm like, well, okay. So I'm running over, you know, and it's hot and I'm sweaty. I got a t-shirt on. I'm like, I literally stop at like H&M, try to get a button-up shirt. You know? And I walk in and I'm like, hey, you know, and I tell him the story and he goes, wow, you know, and you just have this connection. And he's like, I want to be a part of this. Anyway, we get to the other side of this thing and we're still $1 million in the red. And for those who don't run these events, I mean, that's kind of the cost. These are the kinds of costs you have when you do something that on the National Mall at this scale.
Right.
And I'm just like, Lord, you said, and it's 2 weeks later and we're still in the red. And I'm just distraught.
2 weeks.
And I remember getting a phone call from that guy that I met in the divine appointment. And he goes, I say divine appointment. It was just a guy